Welcome to this episode of Data, Policy, and Analysis Show. Data Policies and Analogy, Data Analysis and Policy Show, and this episode is going to be about the state of the economy of Curacao. So, if you are tuning in because you received an invitation from me for this special episode, then welcome. I will be talking about the state of the economy of Curacao. Please invite your friends also to this episode. Your friends on Curacao. Type their names in the comments below, and maybe they will see this episode and then tune in. I expect a lot of questions from you. The episode will be about 50 minutes from now, and after 45 minutes. I will be opening for questions, so stay tuned with me. I will be first showing you the state of the economy of Curacao and the financial situation of Curacao. Please share this with your friends so that they can tune in, and at the end, if you stay till the end, we will give you an opportunity to dive more into the state of the economy. So only the people who stay till the end will see this opportunity. Okay. So welcome to this episode, and today is a special day because I heard that we received something they call an aanwijzing. That means that the Dutch government is going to take care of our finances, be in control of our finances. If you don't know me, my name is Runy Calmera. And I'm based on Curacao, and I build investment models, especially for investors, so that they can have all the data together, they can have their own analysis, and they can make the right policy. And if you are investing in the economy of Curacao, you might want to know exactly what is happening with the state of the economy. If you are also investing in one of the economies of Curacao, say one of the economies of the Eastern Caribbean, then also it is important that you know, because I have similar investment models for the islands of Eastern Caribbean. So what you're going to see today is not only for Curacao, it's an indication of what is possible analyzing the economy. Note that I give you this information, but there can be, of course, interpretation. So your own, make the decisions based on your own judgment, based on your own figures, and see this not as an advice, but see this as just examples of the economy of Curacao. So you cannot say Runy Calmera did this, so I divested from Curacao, and I'm not liable. This show is, you are free to go, free to see it. So type below if you are seeing this from Curacao or from another country, another island, and start typing your questions below in the comments, and I will be picking the questions later on. Don't forget to invite other people to this chat. So let's start. Let's start about the state of the economy. I will show you my screen, and when I show you my screen, you will see the investment part of the investment model that I've created for Curacao. So we will be walking through some of the indicators. Basically, we will be walking through some of the indicators of the Curacao economy right now, as it is 12th of July. And we will be talking also about the history. You will see the historic trends. You will see the main challenges that we have on the Curacao economy. I see a finger, that's good. So invite your friends if you are here. And because I want this to be interactive. And also, I will be showing you some of the baseline. That's what happens if the situation continues. And I will not be doing a scenario today, but I will show you some of the details, some of the possible scenarios that we can see. So let's let's move to my screen. If you have any questions, just put the questions below. So the first thing I want to show you is this document. This document is a document of the IMF, which contains all the information about the latest state of the economy. It's an official document. If you look at, you can get this document also, and I will be posting a link below. But this is the first document that you might wanna look at if you are looking at the state of the economy of Curacao, because in this document you will get the state as June the 7th, and the main conclusions of the IMF visit. And in this document, which is on the website of imf.org, you will see the state of the economy of Curacao, more background, more details if after this this episode. So if you have any questions regarding this document, feel free. And at the end of this document, one of the important things at the end of the documents is you see a lot of tables. So you see a lot of tables regarding the GDP, the growth of the economy, the CPI, that is the inflation, and you see some projections for the future. You see the balance of the government, etc., etc. If you have any questions regarding these things, you can put them below. And you see also the revenues, the tax revenues of 2016 to 2018, and then the projections of the revenues in 2019 till the future. So here you see the tax revenues, expenditures. So the first thing to notice here is you have some of the basic data of the economy of Curacao here, and there are some reports. Giving that information. Now the second thing I want to show you is the model, my investment model. So here you are in the dashboard of the investment model, the dashboard. And what does this dashboard tell you? It's a fresh spreadsheet model, and in this dashboard you see first, you see the real GDP. That's the growth of the economy, and you see the percentage. So this is about minus 1%. And what you see here, the real GDP is the total economy. Are we growing or are we decreasing? And you see it in 2019, I projected a minus 2.6%. And then last year, in 2018, it was minus 2.7. And then it was minus 2.15. So the last years of the economy, these graphs show you that we have been decreasing. We have been decreasing with minus 5.5%. The economy of the Curacao has been decreasing. And then if you look at the projections of the model, it's not the projection, but it is just showing what, if everything continues like it is, all the trends, what is the baseline of the economy? Where is the economy going? You see that it is not growing to more than 1%. It's stable, but there is a recession. So even if we project certain things, the economy is not expected to grow with 5% next year, etc. So we take 2030 because 2030 are the long-term goals of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. That's why we take the baseline. But this doesn't mean that I am projecting what has happened to 2013. I'm just only showing what it will happen possibly in 2020. So in 2020, you see that the economy is projected to have a minus 0.8 growth in my baseline. Now, what's happening with expenditures? We're going to show you some other indicators. If you have any question, type it below. So what's going to happen with consumption? Consumption is also around that 0.5. It is not growing. So we are not expected that the consumption will grow significantly. in the table you see a target, because we could have a target for the consumption, for the household consumption. Let's move to the capital formation. Capital formation means the investments. What are the investments doing? You see that the investments are also going down. The investments are minus 1.5%, and in 2019 the investments projected here are also minus 2.7%. Now imagine if we had a target of 2% or even 3%, then we are not reaching this target. There's a big gap now. So investments are also not expected to grow significantly in this scenario. Now what's happened with the number of unemployed? You know, the number of unemployed is about 11,000, but we have already seen that the figure has been updated by the Central Bureau of Statistics. So the figure is actually 15,000. Instead of 2018, the figure is actually worse. So it is not 10,000 but 15,000. So if we update this trend is going to be worse. What you see here is also, if we project the number of unemployed is going to increase gradually to more than 14,000. So if we upgrade this, then we would probably have a pattern there about 18,000 in the future, because this 10,000 is actually much higher. So these were the latest figures. Employment of enterprises. How many jobs are we creating? During the last years, you have seen that the employment has not grown. The employment is actually around 60,000. So we might need much more jobs. This 80,000 is the number of jobs that we needed. You see, this is also projection of stable. The debt. What's the debt doing? The debt is at 2018, we had about a debt of 2.9. And the debt is also expected to increase. Why is the debt expected to increase? Because we are running deficits. If we don't do anything about the deficits, we don't decrease, we don't take measures, then the debt is going to increase. Let's move to the left. Budget deficit. You see the budget deficit is as a percentage of GDP. The budget deficit is still high, more than 3.3%. So in 2018 it's 3.8, 2019 is 3.4. It's not expected to improve. The budget deficit, here we have a budget deficit of in 2018 this is 200 million. So depending on the definition that you choose, in this model we have 2006 because we also include the pensions, the premiums paid by the SVB, and we pay the expenditures of social benefits, etc. So this is a budget including the Social Security Fund, the budget. Now if you look at the unemployment rate, you see this figure has already been updated onwards, that it is 20%. So we need to add 7% to this figure. In the next version of the model you will see, by next week we will see I've updated it. But the unemployment is also not decreasing. Purchasing power. Inflation. Now you see that inflation has been low till 2017, but that in 2018 suddenly it increased to 2.5%, and in 2018 it increased to 2.5%, and then it is expected to increase further because we have increasing oil prices. So this inflation is also the case why the purchasing power is decreasing. The purchasing power decreased in 2018 with minus 5%, minus 4.7, and then it's going to decrease further, and then later on you see here In 2025, it's about 0.5%. So all these purchasing power and these things are without the measures, without the tax measures. Now we have a tax population. Population is around 150,000 persons. There is a migration, so there are more people moving to the Netherlands than people joining. We have the unemployment rate we already seen, and now the debt. So now this debt, there are problems with the debt situation. We had a debt when we started. The debt was lower, and look at what happened. Debt as a percentage of the total income. So the debt has increased to almost above 52% in 2008. I have 53% here, and before we started in 2010, it was around 30%, around 20 to 30%. So in a short period of time, 9 years, we have accumulated so much deficits that our debt is high, has become high. That means 52% of the debt, 53% of the debt of your total income per year you have in debt. And this is excluding the debt of 200 million that we just recently got for the hospital. So if we include the 200 million of the debt for the government, for the hospital in here, although it is a government, it is a hospital, it means that if something happens with the hospital, the government has to guarantee that debt. That means that this debt situation is worse. Maybe it is already above the 60%. The 60% is the target that small island economies need to achieve. So we are almost reaching the 60% in 9 years that we have become independent. That's a bad situation because the debt will have negative effects on the economy. So now look at the exports. What are the exports doing? You see that the exports are growing, and the exports as a percentage. So look at the exports. They are about, in 2018 they are 3.4 billion, and the imports are in 2018 5 billion. So there is a gap of 1.5, something like that. There is a significant gap on the exports and the imports, and that is one of the problems that we have. So one of the main problem is not only the fiscal deficit, the revenues minus the expenditures of the government, but it has a relation to this gap. This gap is the imports are much higher than the exports. We are importing much more than we are exporting. And this deficit means that if this is not financed by the capital account through financial, to investments, to bonds, to stocks, people investing in Curacao, that means that our foreign reserves will decrease. And the foreign reserves are the number of dollars and euros that we have. So the deficit, the current account deficit, here you see the current account deficit. That's the exports minus the imports. You see it's 1.6 billion, and this is not expected to improve. So this current account deficit means that the exports are lower than the imports. As a small island, look at St. Martin, what's happened. What happened in St. Martin is that suddenly the exports, through a hurricane, the exports were decreased, but they also continue to import. And import means that you are importing for food, you are importing for oil, for the electricity, all those things. And a small island economy actually needs to have a positive current account, because when a hurricane comes, you still need to survive at least 3 months before the economy picks up again. So this is not, most of the small island economies, they have this problem, But if you have this problem, it means that you need to have a good investment climate so that investment can keep coming in. If you don't solve this problem, it can have effects on the currency, the level, the stability of your currency. So let's look at one of the import percentage. You see that the imports increased significantly. Now this is a situation where the imports increased by 11.9% in 2018. What does this mean? This means that because of the building of the hospital, maybe building of renovations of certain hotels, like the hotel of Sonesta, the previous Sonesta hotel, because of those renovations and because of the hotels, we import a lot. So during 2018, although our economy was still decreasing, still we imported much more. Now we need to figure out why that import increased. Because if your exports continue to be the same and are growing a little bit, and your imports increase much more through the building sector, etc., it's going to mean that your foreign reserves, your number of dollars and your number of euros on your balance of payments will decrease. So this is the situation of the exports. You see that the exports increased by 6%, while the imports increased by 11%. So this, although the tourism sector is still performing quite well, this is mainly driven by the tourism sector, the export growth. Still, we might need to have an export target of 15% or 15%. So the export performance that we have been having the last years is not enough. The tourism is growing, but while tourism is growing, other sectors are decreasing. And I will show you that in a while by going detailed. So this is the import. And then we have the number of months covered. Now this is number of months covered only for Curacao. So let's look at this. This is about, for Curacao, for 2019, it's about 6.6. But if we look at the total currency union, because you cannot look at this only for Curacao. If we look at this for the whole union, it means that it is, as December 2018, the number is 4.2. So 4.2 months, and then for Curacao. Now this number for Curacao is only if we take the foreign reserves of the whole monetary union of Curacao and St. Martin. We take 75% because the population of Curacao is 75% and of the total monetary union between Curacao and St. Martin, and we take the dollars and we take the euros, and we say we divide those dollars and unions or euros by our imports. Then we have this amount of months covered. So, but you see the pattern is negative. The pattern is negative. This means that if we don't solve our problem with exports being lower than the imports, and if we don't solve our problems to attract new investments, new investors to Curacao, this is not a positive situation. Okay, so you would see this in a normal economy, you would see this stabilizing or growing, because the growth strategy of the government or of the private sector means that we have more exports and we are doing less exports. So this is the foreign reserve stock of Curacao. Only you take the foreign reserve stocks of the total monetary union, and we take 75%. Of course, people at the central bank, etc., they will tell you this is not possible. Don't do this. But I'll do it because I only want to see the situation of Curacao, to just look at the trends. So the foreign reserve stocks, it's growing, but it's also decreasing. Now, what happened? What actually happened in 2018, I'm looking at my numbers here, is that the foreign reserve stocks of the total monetary union decreased by 274 million. 274 million, it decreased in 2018, December. And if you divide those 2,074 274 million by 1.78. You see the amount of dollars that we have. So the foreign reserves decreased for the monetary union because it could not be financed. The current deficit that we just saw, the export being lower than the imports, it was not financed by the capital account. So there were less investments and investments in Curacao, the net investments. There were less people investing in Curacao, or people just moved their money a little bit. And that's why the reason why this was not financed. Normally, you would want the foreign reserve stock to increase. So this is the state of the economy right now. If you have any questions, ask the questions below in the comments. If you are looking at this as a replay, just type #replay and see give me the comments, the questions that you have. But that's the state of the economy right now. And I just want to move a little bit to the screen to show you, to speak to you about, to give you a small summary on what this is about. So what you see in the economy is it's a stable economy. It has financial problems because the deficit is not improving. You see that we have a current account deficit, which is the exports are lower than the imports. You see the imports are higher, growing in 2018. The growth of the imports are higher, 11% compared to the exports, 7%. And you see that our economy needs, the Curacao economy needs to have a growth path of exports of about 15%, or we need to decrease the imports. We saw that the exports have been decreasing the last years, and that has created a big gap on the current account. Also, you see that the foreign reserves decreased, so the number of dollars and the number of guilders decreased. Now, in such a scenario, what would you see? If you're taking measures right now, and you take measures, for instance, to increase taxes, or you take measures to decrease the number of the expenditures of the government, or you take measures to grow the economy, like the growth strategy. All those measures, the growth strategy of the government, all those measures, when you impact them in the economy, you can calculate and simulate what will happen in the economy. With this kind of investment models, you can see what will happen. Now, as you know, the government is preparing some tax measures right now, increasing of the tax, increases of some of the duties, import duties. I don't know if they have expenditures cuts, but today we have a situation where the government of the Netherlands give the government of Curacao an aanwijzing, which is basically a mandate to correct the finances, because we have a law, and the law says that the government of the kingdom can give them a mandate. So if you are looking at this and you want to see some scenarios calculated, just type below what kind of scenarios you want to see it calculated. I have something beautiful for you. So stay tuned. So that's the state of the economy right now. Now I want to dive a little bit deeper into the situation of the balance of payments, which is the exports and the imports, because this is related to the refinery. How big is the refinery, and how big is the tourism sector? So you see that the exports are growing a little bit, 6%, but it's mainly driven by the growth of the tourism sector. Curacao is moving from an economy from like 2 pillars, maybe 3 pillars, where you had the financial services sector, the tourism sector, and the refining sector, and maybe we also had a transportation sector. So those four pillars, let's look at them and what has happened to them. So let's dive now into the exports to see the potential. So now for that one, I will go to the source. The source of the spreadsheet. So the source of the spreadsheet, and I will show you my screen again. Let me show you my screen. So you are seeing the source. So what's this? This is a database of the investment model, and again, this investment model is for investors, so that you calculate and see what the impact are. So if you own a hotel, or you own a restaurant, or you own a gym, or you own maybe you also could own a bank, and you are an investor, or you are investing in real estate. You need to understand these figures, because these figures will show you what is happening. And I'm here to help you understand these figures. So what do we have here? What we have here is we have a situation where this is the balance of payments. So like you are looking at the balance of your investments, your balance sheet, this is the balance of payments of Curacao with the foreign sector, with all the other islands, with all the other countries. Here are the transactions between Curacao and the Netherlands and United States and Venezuela and Colombia. Curacao, what are we transacting with the rest of the world? That's the balance of payments. And the source of this, you can get this. If you want to get this source, just type below balance of payments, please. Type below in the comment balance of payments, please, and I will put the link in there for you. Now the balance of payments, I will give you some information, and I will give you some graphs. So first, this is the balance of payments of the last till 2010. Some people want 2010 because then we started. And this is the figures till 2018. You see this balance of payments? We have the information. Now, what do we see here? The orange one are the calculations that I created, and I will show you the graphs. But how it works is you have the current account, you have the capital account. But let's look at the trade account to just see what has been happening with, for instance, the tourism and the refinery. So now, if we look at the tourism, so tourism, and we look at how big is tourism, then it is the travel debit. That's the total number of guilders. This is in millions that we are getting from tourists. And of course, this is in millions, but this is in guilders, but there is an equivalent of euros or guilders. So this 811 million guilders, in 2011, you have to check this, and then you have to understand that there are dollars or euros at the central bank that we got in for that year. So this is growing from look at this, 2010, because 2007 we started. This is growing from 600 billion, almost 700 million, and it has increased and came up to, in the highest version, it was 1.1 billion guilders, and now it is again 1.1 billion. So tourism has like 1.1 billion guilders it's getting us in 2018, and it has grown significantly. Now let's look at the international financial services. That's this. International financial services grew from about 233 million, and it has remained stable It has not grown more than 220. You see, 200. It was 220 million in 2016, 20, and now it grew a little bit with till 252 million. So while tourism is bringing in 1 point, 1 point, we saw it. Tourism is bringing in 1.1 billion. The international financial services is bringing 252 million. So that's the amount of guilders that we are bringing in. Of course, these are high-paid jobs, and we need this. And these are more people bringing this money in. But this is just the comparison. Now let's look at the refining. The refining is the refinery, is the refining fee. We are getting a refining fee, and that means that in this money there is the salaries of the people, there is the money that they have to pay to provide gas, water, steam for the refinery, and this is also including the money, the investments. This is also including the money of the contractors. So the refinery was 2010 365 million, and then it grew and it became about 546 million, and this is all in guilders, but the equivalent in dollars and euros, and it then decreased considerably. In 2015 there was a jump again, but since 2015 it decreased and it now became 230 million in 2018. And you have seen this decrease since 2017, because in 2017 the refinery was only open for 2 months, but still salaries were paid. And what you have seen is that they had stocks, and the stocks were now depleted. So in 2018 this has decreased by 230 million. So the refinery, again, the travel is 1.1 billion, the international financial services 252 million, and refinery is lower than the international financial services. So basically the refinery, who was first higher than tourism and higher than everything, it was bypassed by the international financial services now in 2018, and it is lower than tourism. Okay, so that's the pattern that we have seen here. And then we have other services, etc. So now some people are thinking about, yeah, let's do blockchain, let's do blockchain, let's do other type of economic activities. Although I am for blockchain, basically what you're seeing is you are not seeing in the debit, this is the revenues part, you are seeing that communication sector is only 33 million, not billions. Construction only 32 million. That is probably Koiman, who is exporting the services to Barbados, etc. So computer and information only 8 million we are exporting. So if we are talking about blockchain, and blockchain cannot solve the problem right away of tourism. Tourism is 1.1 billion, and blockchain is our computer and information services that we export are 8 million. So if we want to increase the blockchain, financial services, etc., ICT, then we need to look at the numbers, and these numbers paint a great picture. What is the potential? There is great potential in there, but right now that's the total sectors. So you have to look at the numbers. If you have any questions regarding that, just ask the questions below. So now let's look at some graphs, because I want to show you some graphs. The graphs will paint a better picture of what is happening. Now, what are the oil imports of Curacao? The oil imports of Curacao, because that will give you the dependency on the oil. The oil imports on Curacao, that is about 1 billion, above 1 billion. Why is the oil important? Because as a small island economy, you are importing oil to burn it for electricity. You are importing oil products for your cars. You are importing oil products to burn so that you can have coolers in hotels. So oil, we have to follow oil, because when you follow oil, you will know exactly what is going to happen with the imports, the total imports. We have seen the total imports are already 1.6 billion above the exports. So what now happens if oil prices go up? That's one example. That's why we have to study this. So the oil prices, the total oil that we import is also, you can see that in the balance of payments, this is situation. So it has decreased, but you see that the pattern, the last years, right now it was in 2016, it was at the lowest, 430, but now it's already increasing and it's becoming 968 million. That means this is because the oil price has increased. So although we might have the same volume of oil products, but because the oil price is increasing, this is a risk as an investor. Depending on what you are doing. If you are trading oil or if you are investing in oil, this might be an opportunity. But this is a risk for the country. Now look at the oil price, average oil price of the per barrel the last years. So it has the same pattern. Because the oil price is increasing, $68 per barrel. That's why the oil price, the total bill of oil is also increasing. You see that? So what happens if the oil price increases to 110? It was 109 in 2012. You see that one? It was 109.5 in 2012. Then it decreased. But right now with OPEC, etc., they are decreasing their production. So that means that this oil price can go up there. When this oil price, what happens if the oil price goes up and these imports move up again here to that point? What happens with the economy of Curacao? What happens with the balance of payments? What happened with the deficit? What happened with the reserves? Those are interesting questions. Now let's look at the sector refinery. You see the graph? We have seen there is a decline from 2015 to 2018. If you have any questions, let me know. So this is the refining fee has decreased 230. The tourism sector. No, let's look at the refining fee as the total exports of services. So if you take the total exports of services and you take the refining fee, you see that the percentage has decreased. So the refining fee has had a lower share of 10%. Well, before it was about 20% of the services, and now it is only 10%. So while the services have increased, the refining fee is only 10% of the services. So the role of the refinery is becoming less and less. Now let's look at tourism. Tourism has grown from 600 million in 2007. In just 11 years, it has grown to about 1.1 billion. So that's a lot of growth that we have seen. It's a lot of growth that we have seen. This is the total revenues of tourism that we are getting in. Official figures. Now look at the travel as a percentage of services. So the tourism as a percentage of services. That's the opposite of the refinery. You see that it was about 32%, and now it has grown to 45% of the total services. So we are a service economy. That's first. And the services, we will see, I will show you that. And in the services, the tourism sector has grown their percentage. Tourism has become more dominant. We are more dependent on tourism. So whatever people want to say, we are exporting goods and services, etc. The most important thing is tourism has grown. Now, international financial services, you see here, they were in 2007 301 million, and now it has decreased. The trend is a decrease, and now the trend is improving a little bit again, but it is 252 million in 2018. So that's about the same that we had in 2009. So the international financial services has the same level as 2009, just after this big decrease. It's picking up again. As a percentage of export services, look at this. They were first 16% of the services, and now they are about 11%. So tourism is about 45%. Financial services is about 11% of the total services, and the refining fee, the refinery, is only 10% of the services. So now let's look at other sectors, and we want to look at the total exports. So what is the total exports? Like I said, the total export has increased from 2.1 billion till in 2017 to 3.2 billion in 2014, and then it decreased, and now it's improving again. And the level that we have right now in tourism in 2018 is the same as the level that we had in 2013. So now tourism needs to break out, and exports needs to break out and move to a higher percentage. I believe that the exports are the sector that drives the economy of Curacao. If we manage to move these exports 1 billion higher through a good plan, structural plan, then this might help our economy, because as we have seen, exports are driving an export. If we grow exports with this amount, that's a nice scenario. Also, what will happen if we grow exports with 1 billion? What will happen? What is the potential of the economy? How many jobs will be created? How many investments are needed? What will be the impact of on the balance, on the deficit? Those are interesting scenarios. So what is the percentage of the exports? Export of services as a percentage of the total export. So we looked at the total exports here, but now what is the percentage of the services? Are we a service economy, or are we more a goods economy? So you see here that services is about 52%. Then in these years, the services is about 60%. Here it was, yes, the value was 52. No, 66%, 66%. Here it is about 60%, and now here we break through, and there seems to be a moving. This is another period, and it became 76% in 2015, and now it's decreasing a little bit again. So the services are important, and the main reason for this is because of the refinery. I consider the refinery also services, because we are delivering a refining service to Venezuela. Other people can say it's manufacturing. It's also manufacturing, but it's a service. So it's about 68%. So export of services, 68%. Exports of goods is about 32%. So if you want to increase the goods or services, you have to make sure that the services is the driving force in the economy right now. These goods, we need to dive in more into these goods, what these goods are. But these goods can also be like oil, providing oil to the refinery, providing trading in gold, although we don't have gold, trading in gold in Venezuela, etc. So these could all be this information. So these are figures. So what does this mean to you? You can find out some scenarios. So now that you look at this, picture, I want to share something with you where, let me show you my screen again. So what's the key point here? The key point here is that we have seen the charts and we have seen the background of the economy. We have seen what is happening, what are the risks, what are the trends behind the deficit on the balance of payments. And of course, we could also look at the trends of the fiscal sector. So now let's look at the fiscal sector. I show you the fiscal sector, and then I will break out and stop this episode. If you don't have questions, let me show you now the financial figures. So for that, we will go to another part of the model, to just show you some of the financial figures. We go to the model, and I will show you the fiscal sector. I will show you the fiscal sector. The fiscal sector. And the fiscal sector is around here. So look at this the fiscal sector. These are the figures. And these figures, the revenues and the expenditures, these figures are the same as the IMF. So IMF had their revenues, expenditures, and these figures are the same projections from 2016 till 2018, because we need to get figures from 2016 to 2018. I've updated the model that these figures are the same as the IMF in the last IMF report that I showed you. Also the revenues. So the more important thing here is that there is on the social sector, on the transfers from households, this figure, you see that these are premiums. In 2018, these are premiums, and these are premiums paid, AOV, all kind of social premiums and security premiums. This is about 797 million. But let's look at this is revenues coming in, and now let's look at the expenditures. The transfers to households, it's about 1.3 billion. So this in 2018, there is a transfer to the household. These are social benefits, etc. It's 1.4 billion. This is figures from the IMF, and the revenues are there. So there is a big deficit also in the social sector. As an investor, you need to know that. Because the economy is growing, the population is growing, becoming more older. And when the economy is more older, a scenario could be, what happens if these transfers go up? So what happens in the next 10 years if, for instance, the transfers to the household, they go up? You see that the model, the green part is an increase, and this increase is just based on all kinds of scenarios. But we could also have a much higher increase. What happens if these transfers go up during the next 10 years or 20 years? What happens if this goes up and the premiums, the revenues here, the transfer from the households, if this stays the same? Because that scenario could be, for instance, if the unemployment stays high, so less people, the economy stays low, less people getting paying premiums, etc. What will happen with the funds? And why would you need that? Because this defend a great amount of people are dependent on the social benefits, etc. So this is information. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you is the simulation, because then I will go and show you some scenarios. We have all kinds of simulation possibilities. We are in the same sheet, and we have about 27 measures, 27 variables that we can play with. And if we play with those variables, for instance, if we want to increase the taxes, we could increase the taxes here. The indirect taxes, we could increase that here. We could increase that here. So if the government increases the taxes, the sales tax, if the government wants to increase the taxes for the private sector, the profit tax, if the government wants to increase the taxes for the wages, if the government wants to decrease the wage bill or stabilizing the wage bill, you can do that here. If the government wants to decrease subsidies, if the government wants to increase investments, because the government wants to invest a lot of money in the economy through the growth strategy. And that is private investment. What if the government, in the private investment, the government comes up with a great economic package so that the investments will pick up? Those are simulations, etc. And now I will tell you about what the opportunity is for you to learn more about this. So let me go to my screen to close down. So I'm closing out. So we have seen that during the last hour, we have seen the situation in Curacao. We have seen the state of the economy. We have seen what is the background of the main economic indicators. We have seen what the graphs are for the balance of payments. We have seen that I have created an investment model which has the same figures as the IMF. And what I want to show to you is an opportunity for working with me. And that opportunity is an opportunity where we will next week I will give a workshop. I will give a workshop, but the workshop is you need a small investment, and the small investment is 94 guilders. If you translate that into dollars, it is $27.53. You will have a workshop, and the workshop is going to be about the state of the economy, but now we're going to simulate some measures, some policy measures. So type workshop below to receive information about how you can join that workshop. And the workshop will be next week. And the workshop will be next week. If you are looking at this, make sure the 19th of July, at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 6. So from 4 to 6, 4 o'clock to 6, there will be a workshop. Or let's make that workshop a little bit later. It will be 2 hours. It will be 2 hours, and it will be, everybody can follow that workshop. So I will make the workshop from 6 to 8. From 6 to 8. 6 to 8, I will type the workshop 6 to 8. Because first I will have a small episode of this at 4 o'clock, and then the workshop is at 6 o'clock. From 6 to 8, the workshop will be. So 49 guilders, $27. Type below workshop. Type in the comment below workshop to receive payment instructions. If you are paying from Curacao, I will send you some information. Once you type workshop, I will send you a message where I give you the information so that you can pay for Curacao. If you are paying in dollars, I will send you some information so that you can pay for in dollars. There's also a possibility that if you are foreign and you want to pay, make sure that you are in, you can also pay with PayPal. But I want to help you to pay with local bank. With your local bank, you can pay with your external bank. You can pay, and you can pay until Wednesday, because Wednesday, today is Friday, on Wednesday the payment is closed, because then I'm only preparing for the workshop. So till Wednesday you have an opportunity to say workshop below, and when you type workshop below, you will receive instruction for a payment. Now, what will I cover in that workshop? I will cover the scenarios that we discussed today. So the scenarios will be: 1, what happens if the refining fee goes away? So what happens if the refining stops? The refining stops. So what will happen with the economy? What will happen with all those indicators if the refinery stops? Another scenario: what will happen if we invest, the government invests 200 million in the hospital, 200 million in the hospital, and that is funded by the pension funds. So that's the scenario, which is actually already true. You have 200 million, and that's be funded by the pension funds in a hospital. What will happen with the economy if the government spends that money in the next 2 years? What will happen if the government increases revenues by increasing taxes? What will happen if the government decreases the salaries or decreases the expenditures? What will happen with the economy, with all those indicators? And I have an opportunity also to say, let me see. I have an opportunity to say, you can put in your scenarios, because once you pay, I will give you, I will be in contact with you. Once you pay, you will be able to send your questions, and I will pick up one or two of the scenarios that you suggest. I will pick it up and put it in. So what does it mean? It means that from now till Wednesday next week, which is, we are now at 12, from now till Wednesday 17, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. You have 6 days. 6 days where you can type in below workshop. And once you type in below workshop, you will receive payment instructions to pay in dollars or to pay in guilders. And then you will be able to join that workshop. And when you join that workshop, you will see more information about all those scenarios, etc. So that's good that you said Jennifer is already in typing workshop. Great. Other people are typing workshop. Once you get workshop, I expect I will not be looking at it every 5 minutes, but type in workshop below, and that means that you get payment instruction. And then please also, the people who if you stay till this moment, type in the name of people on Curacao, investors, businesses, moms, etc. Type in people who you think is this episode that was valuable for them, and then if you are looking at it, this is from a replay. Also type replay workshop, and then I will be sending you that information. If you found this valuable, please share this information, because before Wednesday, I want you to be prepared. I want you to be prepared. I'm running these workshops. I want you to be prepared so that you know what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that it's only negative information, but you know the information, and you know if you have a business or if you are thinking, then you know what can happen and what are the possible impact. Also, there is a growth strategy. We have the investments in the growth strategy. What will happen if the government puts in all those investments or manages to grow all those investments in the growth strategy? What will happen with the economy? Will we reach 5% growth? What will happen? Are you interested? So type in workshop, type in below also the name of other people in the comments. So I want you to do three things. One, like this page so that you are updated. Two, share this episode as soon as it is ready. Share it to people so that more people can know it. Number three, if you are interested in the workshop, type workshop below. And number four, I'm asking a little bit about you, but number four, if you want more people to be interested, type below their name, and then they can see this workshop, etc. So that was it. I'm just about to go. Hopefully that you found value in this situation. You found everything. And if you participate in the workshop, you will receive a document with the screenshots that we have done today. You will see a graph, a PDF with the information in there. Now, the last point I want to share you is I hopefully that I'm going to find a lot of people. There are 50 people can join the workshop. 50 people can join the workshop. So the seats are limited. Make sure that you pay as soon as you get the payment instructions, because on Wednesday evening 8 o'clock it's closed. So make your payment. Sometimes the payment takes 1 day or 2 days. On Curacao, 1 day. Make your payment and make sure you are in. So that's it. Thank you very much for being there. This was Data Analysis and Policy Show. And this is the show where I show you the data so that you can make the right analysis and you can have the right policy for your business, for your investments, for your life. And if you get the right data, if you have the right analysis, you will understand what is happening, and you will also see the opportunities. This is Runy Calmera, and I hope you found value. This was about the model of Curacao. We have more of these models, and I will want to see you next week at 6 o'clock. Next week at 6 o'clock, the 19th at 6 o'clock in the workshop. It's going to be a private workshop, and I'm not sure that it's going to happen, that we are going to tape it and it's a one-time workshop where you will see the information. That's it. Make sure you're in. See you next time. If you have any questions, ask them below. And I'll close right now because there is more information waiting for me. And thank you for being here. Just forget, yes, Jennifer Martina, type their name or share. You can do both. You can type their name, Jennifer. You can type their name so that they see this, and sharing is also very valuable, because when you share, then
other people will see this episode. As soon as I'm gone, Jennifer, you can start doing it. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you next week in the workshop about Curacao, the State of the Economy number 2. Thank you very much. Bye.